All right, so here's a question. What happens when the Federal Reserve gets exactly what it asked for and still manages to break the system? Today, we're talking inflation, interest rates, and why the bond and gold markets are starting to sound the alarm, even when the headlines say everything's fine. I'm Chris Hobart, the Wealthologist, and if you're trying to figure out what all this means for your portfolio, your plans, and your peace of mind, well, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, Chris Hobart here, the Wealthologist. Now, if you're wondering whether the Federal Reserve actually knows what it's doing with inflation, I got to tell you, you are not alone. Now, real quick, if all of this has you wondering how your own money's being impacted or what to do next, that is what we're here for. So head on over to Hobart Wealth. We've got the tools, insights, and a way to connect with our team. No pressure, just real answers. All right, so if I told you the Fed wanted inflation to go higher, it sounds backwards, right? But that's exactly what happened. Let's rewind to the decade before COVID. Inflation, specifically the Fed's preferred measure called PCE inflation, it was averaging about 1.5% per year. But Fed Chairman Jerome Powell thought that was too low. So he said, hey, let's average 2% over time. Now transition, let it run hotter for a while to make up the difference. I got to tell you, sometimes we got to be careful what we wish for, right? In the last 5 years, inflation has averaged 3.7%. Now, over the last 10, 2.6%. To say that the mission has been way overaccomplished, that's an understatement, right? But now the Fed's trying to walk it back, and it's not exactly working. In the past year, inflation's still at 2.5%. Core inflation is even higher, 2.8%. And that super core measure, which leaves out food and energy and goods and housing rents, it's up 3.3% over the past 12 months. No wonder why they stopped talking about that one. Now, it's kind of like naming your fantasy football team champions 2025 before the draft and then quietly changing it after week 3, right? Now, look, some folks want to blame tariffs. Others point to lagging housing data. But here's the real deal. Inflation is a monetary issue. Too much money in the system equals too many dollars chasing too few goods. Plain and simple. The M2 money supply, that's the big one, rose nearly 4% in February. And that's the government's checking account. The Treasury general account is down $400 billion since last year. That money didn't disappear. It went right back into the economy. So yeah, we've still got a lot of money just sloshing around out there. Now, here's where things get political. Powell's term as Fed chairman ends next year. And if you think the future Fed leadership won't be pressured to cut rates or ease up on tightening, regardless of what the economy looks like, think again. Markets see it too. Gold is over $3,000 an ounce. The 10-year Treasury yield, it's still sitting above 4%. So while Wall Street hopes for rate cuts to bring long-term yields down, the bond market's just not convinced. And I got to say, that tells you something. You're probably wondering, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? It means be careful assuming the Fed has everything under control, because if inflation stays sticky and rate cuts happen anyway, that could have real consequences for your money, your retirement, and your future. So here's what I want you to know. Do you think the Fed can actually bring inflation back down and keep it there? Or are we heading to a new normal? I want you to drop your thoughts on this in the comments below, and let's get that conversation going. And maybe you're trying to make sense of all of this in your own financial life. Well, just check out HobartWealth.com. We've got some great resources, a great team, and we're always happy to help you navigate what's next. All right, I'm Chris Hobart, the Wealthologist, and I'll catch you next week with more straight talk, less jargon, and a whole lot more clarity. Take care.